Hello all, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about voting rights of people with disabilities, which isn't always an easy task depending on where you live. And just so you know, a few little facts. The 15th and 19th Amendment to the Constitution prohibit the government from denying the right to vote to any U.S. citizen on the account of race, color, previous condition of servitude, or sex. The Constitution gives the rights to the state for qualifications for voting, and the qualifications can't be discriminatory and cannot violate the Constitution. But the Federal Voting Rights Act specifically gives states permission to enact laws to deny the right to vote to people for two reasons. One is criminal conviction and mental incapacity. So what happens in some states is, depending on the state, because it varies from state to state, somebody who, say, has a guardianship, even though they may be high functioning, understand everything, but may need help with finances or something like that, or health care, they can be prohibited from voting just because they have a guardianship in some areas. In some states, like the state that we live in, fortunately, even if you have a guardianship, as long as a judge has never deemed you incompetent, you still have your rights to vote where we live. So that's something you would have to do a little research in your own state to find out what your voting laws are in your area.
Which is a great segue to in my reading. Sherry sent me tons and tons of articles to read, and in my reading, I was not knowing which direction to go in this because I'm super torn. Of course, I want every American to vote. I want everyone's voice to be heard, especially advocates and people living with disability. So I found this quote that I think is going to set a great tone for our discussion. And it goes like this: the notion that any one person is a single cause of a significant social change, that, say, Abraham Lincoln alone freed the slaves, is a devastating stereotype which robs individuals of responsibility and credit. And actually, it inhibits social change. You can be a revolution of one in your living room, in your family, and in your community. And this was said by Justin Dart in 1998. So with that thought of being a revolution of one, look at your state's voting rights in their regulations, and make sure that people with disabilities aren't going to be hampered from accessing their right to vote unless they're a criminal or they were ever deemed incompetent, because we really don't need any more comatose people voting.
Don't need what?
Comatose people voting.
Oh, I couldn't understand what you said, sorry.
It's my accent. Sorry, it's my accent.
Even though we're from the same area. Also, the ADA requires accessibility, prohibits states from categorically disqualifying all individuals who have intellectual or mental health disabilities from registering to vote because of their disability. So if you have issues in your state, you would need to go to your local state senators to get your laws changed, because the state legislators are responsible for the voting rights in the area. In case you don't know how the laws work, those are the people. So you would reach out to your district senator, your local state senator, and advocate for change if your state doesn't allow voting for people with disabilities because of guardianship.
And right now there are 7 states, and I don't know which ones they are because in my reading they weren't listed out, but they deny rights to vote to idiots or insane persons. That's a really loose definition. So again, check your local board of canvassers can help you find out if you live in a state that denies voting rights to people who are idiots or insane. I mean, the fact that those words are still being used in 2021 is a little dismaying. Mm-hmm. There are others who are denied to vote because they are unsound mind or are not of a quiet and peaceful behavior. Those are very loose terms and open to subjective, and can impede people of all ilks, whether they have disabilities or not, of of their right to vote.
Yeah, and a lot of that old language is used, and it's very misguiding language. Um, People with disabilities may not be able to talk, but that doesn't mean their intellectual capabilities are hampered in any way. It's kind of like the stereotype of immigrants when they speak broken English. People will talk loud to them or down to them.
I treat them like they don't know, and
Yes,
they probably have it all going on,
yes. So,
just not English.
you need to be mindful just because somebody can't talk or they talk with their hands or whatever issue.
Or they can't hear, or they can't see.
Right.
It doesn't mean they're intellectually disabled. Or, to use the terms that are still in the books, idiots or insane. One of the things that struck me too is there are 16 states that bar people from voting if they have ever been adjudged mentally incompetent or incapacitated. That can lead to that. I feel like, yes, we don't want people in comas voting. Coma, I said it right this time. We don't want people in comas voting, but that's also very loosely defined. So check your state. That's 16. That's a lot of states. And contact your senator, contact your congressman, be that voice of change, that revolution of one, and say, hey, I'd really like to take a look at this, and I think you should too.
Right. And I'm sure every state has a person, like we have a state federal senator who is a big proponent of the disabled and advocates a lot for them in our state. And I'm sure every state has somebody who has that in their heart for people with disabilities, and that might be a good person to reach out to.
Absolutely.
Who already has that knowledge and wants to help that community. And also another tidbit, the Help American Vote Act of 2002, SAD in 2002, federal funding was made to make voting sites fully accessible to people with special needs. But in some states, that's still an issue and isn't always an automatic. So, but there is an act from 2002 that has been enacted. So if you don't see that in your area, for those rights to be fully accessible, I believe each voting area is supposed to have one fully accessible booth for people with disabilities.
So be that revolution of one. See something, say something. If you go to vote and you notice, how would somebody with a physical disability get into this place? It's time to say something.
Right. And I'm also going to attach a great reference that we read from Disability Justice that has great YouTube videos attached in the article that you can also watch and everything. And I will reference that down in our YouTube video. You'll have it when you open up the link at the bottom. I'll show all the references right there so you can read all the articles and watch some of the videos.
Be a revolution of one.
I'm Sherry, this is Roberta, and we are bridging the gap for the special needs community, wanting to share their intrinsic worth to society and the value that they bring to our communities. All right, anything else?
I'm good. Revolution of one.
Yes, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.